I use Anchor to do my podcast because it's easy, free, it has all the creation tools. You can record, edit, and distribute your podcast all in one place. You can download the app or go to anchor.fm. That's anchor.fm. ANCHOR.FM. Go check it out. This
Mhm.
is M, Usui Reiki Master and Teacher, and I'm happy that you're joining us today. Thank you for being here with us. It's more than a blessing to having you here because I myself had been blessed by Reiki in many ways in my life. And
Mm,
now that I'm doing this, I've wanted to, from the very beginning of this project, reach people and talk to people about how Reiki can really improve basically your overall life.
mhm.
And by seeing what you do, I approach you because I think you are really the perfect person to talk to us about that. So
Mm.
I would like to first get to know you a little better. So who is M?
Oh, thank you. So I'm Em. I'm a Usui Reiki Master and Teacher. So I grew up in Flint, Michigan. I moved out here to the West Coast into Oregon about 2 years ago. And when I made that move is when I started taking my self Reiki practice seriously, and it became, a master and teacher and all of these things. Actually, I'm also really happy to be here chatting with you too, because
Thank
I listened to your episode where you share your story about how you got into Reiki, and I really resonate with it. It really spoke to me because I had a similar situation where I had all of these big health problems. I was going through some anxiety and depression,
you.
and on top of it, just more and more health things would pile up, and I was like, when is this going to end, you know? So
Yeah.
I was taking I started taking good care of my health because I decided I wanted to be done with the anxiety and depression, and I really wanted to find more to life. I wanted to experience more in life than these heavy things that I was going through on a day-to-day basis. So I started taking good care of my health, and along with the health is when I dug back into Reiki and started studying Reiki, and then after some time I did my certification. And so I'm really passionate, especially about teaching Reiki to people, because we all have this gift, this healing gift. We're all born with it. It's just about learning how to sort of wield this power. And
Yeah.
once we learn how to do that, there's nothing that can stop us. We
I
become
see.
so much more powerful and stronger. And so I kind of felt like you went through a similar situation when, you're like, okay, I'm done with all these health things. Like, I got to do more in life. I got to discover more in
Yeah,
life.
you need to move at some point. It's you need to either you conform to it or you move and do something.
Yeah. So I started to, when I really got deep into Reiki, deep in the traditional Japanese Reiki healing techniques, I came across Reiki breathing techniques. And so it's all about using the breath along with your Reiki, and how the breath actually powers up your Reiki, how it brings in more ki to the body. And so that's actually what made me feel stronger as a Reiki master, is the breath work. And that's why I ended up naming my business Kokyu Reiki, because Kokyu means breathing in Japanese.
Okay, and when you say example, people who maybe doesn't know the terms, when you say key, for example, what you are referring to in terms of energy, like people who maybe doesn't know what you're referring to. Yeah.
So ki is the Japanese word of chi. It's energy, it's the movement, it's the flow of life.
That I like that the ki, chi, prana,
Yeah.
how it all resonates through the different cultures, but brings us to the same, to this unity of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed, for example, there are different, like in your name, it says Usui, right?
Mm.
What does Usui means when it comes to Reiki?
So there's different types of Reiki. The type of Reiki that I learned is called Usui Reiki, and it's basically just Mikao Usui is the man who started Reiki, so it's using a lot of the original Reiki techniques that he taught. So yeah, Mikao Usui was the man who started Reiki, and well, Reiki has always been around, right? Energy has always been around, but he was the one who sort of coined the term in order to be able to teach it to people.
I like that because that's another thing that, depending on the school of knowledge, maybe it comes with the different the Sui Reiki in your case, or I don't even recall right now other schools, but Usui is the most like known because he's focused on reviving this lost knowledge of Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
But something that I notice about what you do is that you offer service for other Reiki practitioners, which
Mm,
I find that is the first time I see that. Actually, to be honest with you, what's that about?
so my Reiki practitioner coaching program is basically where I work with other Reiki practitioners and other types of energy workers or light workers or anybody who wants to be a spiritual entrepreneur. And I work with them one on one over the phone to give them some direction to make their business successful. Because I actually started this program when this whole pandemic started becoming more intense, and a lot of people started feeling kind of lost. And I noticed a lot of other, well, for me anyways, like my distant Reiki clients increased by about 40% since the pandemic started. So I was doing okay financially through this time, but I noticed a lot of the people who I was giving distant Reiki to was other Reiki practitioners. And a lot of the things that they were going through was fear, anxiety, uncertainty, just all kinds of confusion and feeling lost through this pandemic. So that's what inspired me to start this coaching program, because right now on this earth, I truly believe that we need as many healers as we can. We need as many healers as we can. I don't want to be the only Reiki master out there helping everybody. I want everyone to be successful, and I want,
I
because
like
we
that.
all have our unique gifts, So I teach a lot of breath work with my Reiki, and I work with a lot with anxiety and depression. But somebody else can offer Reiki that resonates with somebody else better than me.
Yes, that is
So
so true.
we all have our own gifts. So I want everyone to be successful. And so I offer this coaching program to any type of energy worker, to either whatever they need, basically. So I work with two main parts. Rather it be they need to feel the energy more. Maybe it's something more personal we need to work with together. Maybe they're feeling a lack of confidence and we need to work through some poverty consciousness and to get them feeling good again so they can move forward as a spiritual entrepreneur. Or maybe it's the other side where they just need to understand kind of the pathway to starting a business and how to market, how to show up and communicate as a spiritual healer in the online world, or how to accept the money exchange, all these kinds of
Yeah,
things.
that's so hard because in my case, I haven't like practiced Reiki as a business, for example, and people have approached me like, hey, can you do it like for me and whatnot? And I have done it a couple times, but when we talk about money, for me it's so hard because I know I should charge people, but because of course we're doing something here, but I never know what to charge or it's hard, and having somebody who can guide you through the process, and yeah, of course, whenever I get to that point, I will be giving you a call like, hey, I need help with this, because to be
I would
honest,
love to.
and that's so hard for people like me, again, to come across this path and for personal reasons, and then finding out that this is so beautiful and I can help so much more and I can do so much more, but I don't know even how do I even start? And to have
Yeah.
these, people like you in our path that can, focus our attention in the right way, in the right direction is a blessing. And that's awesome because I have no idea, again, what to do with this besides what I do for myself.
Yeah.
And again, other people see you and see what you're doing with your life, and they also want you to apply that on them. But like how,
Yeah. For me, I grew up, you know, pretty poor. I had everything I need. I had food and a roof over my head. And but I learned that money was evil from my family. Money is evil, just stay away from it. So that kind of put something in my head, right? Like, if I have money in my possession, it's evil. I'm holding this evil thing, so I want to get rid of it as fast as I can.
yeah,
But at the same time, I need it to survive in this
exactly.
reality. So, I came to a point in my life where I stopped wanting to work for other people. I started my own business, jewelry business, and so with that, I kind of was forced to get past my personal money block, and I came to realization that money is just energy. It's not good or bad. It's just energy. And so
What you
when
do
you
with it?
when yeah, so when you stop caring about it so much, like it's so evil, or I love money, I need so much more, when you stop caring about it and you put your focus on sharing your gift with the world, it just comes to you naturally.
You're so right.
Yeah.
And how is the lockdown so far in Oregon?
It's, you know, we're limited, restaurants and some businesses are closed, schools are closed, schools are doing homeschooling and everything like that, just like California. You're in
Yeah,
California, I believe, right? Yeah. But I think the overall energy here is that, and this is just from what I see, my perception. I'm not speaking for everybody, but from what I see, I feel that, everyone here in Oregon is kind of just getting tired of the lockdown, so we're like, okay, when can I go back to work? When can
yeah,
we
I
go out
see that
again?
here too.
Yeah, so a lot of people I feel kind of are taking advantage of the time and, spending more time with their families, spending more time
Yeah,
outside at the parks, going into nature. And it's pretty relaxed, but also careful. A lot of people are wearing masks and taking precautions as we should. Um, but yeah, I think that the stay-at-home order here is supposed to lift around actually tomorrow, I think, May
mm,
15th. But there's a lot of heavy regulations. You have to, I think, um, for massage people, which I'm kind of assuming, you know, we Reiki masters or Reiki practitioners are kind of along the lines of following the guidelines of massage therapists and, those sort of clinics. And it's just basically, talking to your clients about, how the virus can spread and just being very careful, washing your hands, wearing a mask when you
new
can.
safety guides, disinfecting
Mhm.
everything basically in between clients. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. So yeah, we will have guidelines to follow if we want to open back up again, or we have the choice to not open up yet.
How it's been for clients? Have you noticed any change on the will on the people during this time, or because
Yeah.
for me it's been like a slippery slope, up and down. With how at the beginning I was really proactive with this, let's stay at home, and then it was like I need to get out of here or I will jump off the roof, and then I'm back to okay, I'm okay, and I'm grounded back to reality, and this is what it is. And but what was your perception regarding maybe your clients and people staying for over a month now in on shelter in place?
Mhm. Yeah, I feel, especially because I've been doing so much distant Reiki, I see a lot of similarities. So it's interesting that you express that you're going through these waves, you know, staying in, wanting to go out, being content, wanting to go out. I feel these waves when I'm working with my clients too. So, I can work with anywhere between 1 to 6 clients distantly every single day. And I see a lot of connections, and that's normal to see because, the whole oneness thing, we're all one. So we have this collective conscious that we all are tapping into. So, for example, like when this first started becoming like really big and uncertain for everybody, I felt a big disconnect between the third eye and the heart chakra. So, I'm not sure exactly why that was, just, the separation of the mind's intelligence with the heart intelligence.
Okay, so what that mean?
I don't know why that happened, why I
No.
saw that similarity with everybody, but what that means is that, you know, we have to communicate with both our third eye, our mind, and our hearts.
Okay.
When we're too much in our head, we're not thinking with our hearts. We'll think more logically, but when we're not thinking with our hearts, or when our hearts are not involved, we may make a decision that seems logical now in the moment, but in the long run, it's not going to be sustaining. It's not going to make us happy in the long run. Or on the other side, when we're only thinking with our hearts and we're not thinking with our mind, we can make decisions that will put us in a vulnerable position in the long run. So we have to have
Mhm.
a connection between the two. So for a few weeks, I was working on connecting the two with everybody because I saw that everybody's was disconnected. Another week, I felt a lot of tension in the shoulders and the neck. Like everyone had this tension,
Mm.
and I'm not sure why it was at the time. It just was, and we work with it and get through it. Um,
Maybe because we were all getting like the same news feeding to us at the same time. Maybe we were experiencing the same amount of tension or fear at the same time, like a collective. Maybe that's why
mhm.
we were all experiencing the same amount of disconnection between the chakras, or I don't know. Maybe it's something on that fashion.
Yeah, I think that's right. We are a collective. We have this consciousness that we all tap into as one being together. And this is also why I focus so much on the breath work with Reiki too, because we're all part of this earth grid. We're all sharing this earth. We all have this grid underneath of us of information that we tap into. Like, for example, if you ever have seen maybe a baby kitten just know how to hunt an animal, like
Yeah.
what, how did you know how to do that? Or a dog, when it just knew how to like sniff something out, like what, when did you learn that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
They have these survival instincts, right? And so we humans have something along those lines as well, but it's all connected with the earth grid. So we learn from each other because we're all connected with each other. So if I'm sitting over here in Oregon and I'm feeling all this fear because I'm watching the news all day and I'm so scared, I have no idea what's going to happen to me or my friends or my family, I'm dumping this fear into the earth grid. And then you over there in California, all of a sudden, like, you're having a good day, everything's fine, but then all of a sudden you're like, why do I feel this anxiety all of a sudden, and then you put that into the earth grid, and then more and more and more people all over the world pick up on that feeling. So the importance of breath work is powerful because it allows us to have a clear conscious in our mind. So we're more aware of what we're putting into the grid. We understand more that it's important to put more peace and love and kindness and
Maybe help
calmness into the
help
grid.
clean a little bit of that energy.
Yeah, clean it up.
That's awesome. That makes so much sense. I mean, everything is so negative all the time. It makes sense to maybe us help clean the air a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
let's say people who they have never maybe heard of energy healing Reiki on like in a really basic way. How can you not explain because it's I don't even know how to explain, how to explain energy. But, like, how can you put it to somebody who is open to it but have never maybe heard of it?
Okay. Yeah, for those people, I often start with, we're always kind of like, our minds are on autopilot. So we're always go, 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 go. And sometimes we stop. We fail to stop, to check in with our own mind and to just feel nothing but peace. And so Reiki is a really good healing technique to allow you to stop and allow your mind to have that breather. So then they're like, okay, sure, I'll get up on the table and try it out. And oftentimes, even if they don't believe in energy, just the fact that I'm allowing that space for them to lay on my table and to relax, and I'm not going to let them get up and go and leave anywhere or start writing on their to-do list. They have nothing to do but lay there. And so oftentimes they fall asleep like that because it's like they've never allowed their minds to be content with doing nothing in the middle of the day. And this is so healing. It's so revitalizing for ourselves and all of our organs in our body. Also, there's so many scientific studies coming up with Reiki too, especially in the medical field. I think I just saw recently, like somewhere around 86% of patients have reported that they have improved sleep after having a Reiki treatment.
Hmm.
And all kinds of studies on how fast recovery time after surgery can happen after a Reiki session, before and after surgery. And so it's not always about this metaphysical woo-woo, energy type thing. It's also quite scientific too. There's tons of studies online about it, how it does speed up recovery time. It allows toxins to leave the body faster. But yeah, and long story short, basically if we can just allow ourselves to sit still and to just do nothing but breathe,
It's like a
how
form
helpful
of
that is.
meditation. Yeah, and what can people do like nowadays that we are in our houses, in our big church, shelter in place, or even people who are like working right now, like first responders?
Hmm.
Is there like any kind of meditation you can recommend or breathing technique that you practice that you maybe can recommend people to do maybe a short
Hmm.
technique they can do like to go back to it when they're feeling down these days, or I don't know,
Yeah.
something to help them through their day?
Absolutely. So I always like to recommend, if possible, if you can, leave your house and go into nature while social distancing. That would be amazing because it's a little mini grounding technique, just getting into nature, surrounding yourself with Mother Nature, with some flowers or trees or anything like that. It's just so refreshing because, we sync back up with the electromagnetic energy field of the earth that way. Whereas when we're sitting inside our houses all day, watching Netflix, on our phones, on Facebook, Instagram, and whatever, around Wi-Fi and all these different types of things that pull us out of our natural state of being, it's so much more beneficial to just connect with nature again. So if that's possible while social distancing, maybe even opening up a window in your home, just getting some fresh air like that.
Fresh air.
So whether you're outside or inside, I always like to tell people this special breathing trick that everyone should know, that but not a lot of people know, and it's breathing deep from the belly. So a lot of times when we breathe, we fill up the chest first with air and not the belly, and that actually cuts off circulation, and that causes anxiety. So it kind of puts us into this fight or flight mode when we have no reason to be there. We have
Oh,
this fight or flight mode, for situations where we really need it, like if a bear is chasing us or something. But we actually put ourselves in that fight or flight mode without even realizing it. So we tend to feel more frustrated or be on edge for the day and things like that. So if we just switch up the way we breathe, it brings so much more calming energy to our body. And I always tell people it brings in more chi, or prana, because you're circulating more oxygen through the body. So
yeah.
what you do is when you inhale in through the nose, and you fill the belly up first. So you want your belly to kind of like get big, like really push the belly out, and then fill up the chest. And then on the exhale, you exhale so that the belly releases first, empties out first, and then the chest empties. And you want to bring your belly button like in toward the spine, so it's really emptying like every bit of air in. So maybe we can all do it together if you don't mind, just maybe one round.
No, sure thing.
Okay, cool. So inhale in through the nose, fill up the belly. Exhale, empty the belly through the lips, exhaling through the lips, emptying the chest, belly button comes toward the spine. And just that. And practice that for as long as you feel comfortable. A lot of people, when they first start this type of breathing, they get a little dizzy because they're circulating so much more oxygen that they're not used to. So if you feel dizzy, just take a break, return to your normal state of breathing, and then come back to it. It's something really good to practice when you're out in nature or in your home, and in the morning before bed.
That's great. I see the benefit of that. You move so much more oxygen in your body.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the laws are in Oregon for cannabis use.
Mm-hmm.
Is that legal in Oregon? Is
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
okay. So
definitely.
yeah, because here.
Especially in Eugene, we have dispensaries like every corner, like more than gas stations.
Okay. So you're already here in California. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I always ask because for me, that's like another thing that when I first moved here, I had a lot of medications for
Mm-hmm.
depression and anxiety and whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
I was able to drop a lot of that since I moved here and I started moving towards cannabis. And in my case, it has been a lot of help. And my mom lives in Texas, and there is not legal, but she got CBD prescribed, and she's doing way better than the way she was doing with prescribed medication. And that's why I always like to ask, because in my case, I was able to incorporate cannabis into my meditation and my,
Mm-hmm.
you might say, my spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always ask, especially nowadays that there's so much more studies going on about how psychedelics open the mind and how Asian civilizations use it, or some studies are saying that Asian civilizations use mushrooms and other
Mm-hmm.
plants as a method to expand the mind. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know it helps so many people. I used to use it recreationally, um, when I was in college and things like that, but now I don't. I will have CBD. CBD is more than enough for me personally. Um, But yeah, I know it has helped so many people, and I hear so many amazing stories about it. So I'm really happy for you that it helped you to switch some of your medications. Um, if I do like to recommend, people don't like to hear this part, but
Yeah.
I'll just be honest. But I just like to recommend for people if they can have it through an edible. I personally believe it's much more healthier than smoking it because our
Was
lungs are
yeah.
so sacred, and our lungs aren't made for all of this smoke all the time. So, you know, if you can try edibles
Yeah,
instead,
actually,
that would be
I'm
amazing.
I'm alternating lately. I'm trying to switch more towards edibles,
Yeah,
and yeah, then they do the job. To be honest,
yeah. And for mushrooms, I think Oregon is actually working on, I don't know about fully legalizing it, but decriminalizing it at least.
yeah,
And
I've been reading so much, and even like the microdosing, where you don't even like get a high out of it or anything like that, but
yeah,
you get to microdose, and they're treating people from PTSD and many other really hardcore stuff, And I'm thinking if there's something to it, it is worth the research.
yeah. I think I read recently that some scientists are testing it with depression too, and how much it's helping
Yeah,
with depression. And it's helped me with that too in the past also. And I try to maybe do something like that maybe once a year because I think it's really good to just reset the brain and you know connect some new parts of the brain together. And as long as it's treated as something sacred and something
exactly.
special, yeah, I think it's something absolutely worth looking into.
All right, yeah, I'm looking into that. I decided if I get around to try it, I will document it.
Yeah, I would love to hear about your experience.
All right, awesome. And there's something that caught my attention. There's a lot of things you do that did, but you offer a self-guided Reiki session. Is that right?
Yeah, so I do self Reiki classes.
Classes.
Mhm, mhm.
And okay, so how that go?
Yeah, so once a month, typically around the new moon, I like to gather some people together who are, Reiki practitioners who just need some help, some guidance just to reconnect with themselves because, as we live in this reality, it's easy to disconnect with our true selves. Or people who are interested in Reiki, interested in learning about it, they can come and join. There's no requirements. You don't have to be attuned to any certain level to join the class because we're not doing anything that actually requires you to do any attunements or use any of the symbols or anything like that. So we do a lot of Reiki breath work. We do a lot of connecting with the intuition of our hands and also learning. I like to teach about, human anatomy a bit, just knowing where other organs are in the
That's
body
great.
so we can send Reiki to those areas because they're responsible for so much
And that is so
of our,
important because we work with intention. And
yeah.
if we know, we need some amount of knowledge. If we want to set the intention to affect areas, we need to know the areas we want to affect. So that's great.
Hmm. Yeah, it's been, I tried it once, I thought it was just going to be maybe a couple people would join the first time, but I actually had so many people join and, people sign up for my classes in advance and we do it through Zoom. So if anyone is interested in just checking out some self Reiki, please join us. It's a donation based class. It's just a $5 minimum donation, but whatever you can afford for whatever the current situation is.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to talk about, and I want to recommend distant Reiki.
Hmm. Explain how distant Reiki works.
Yeah, please.
Sure, yeah. So sort of like what we were talking about earlier with the earth grid and this oneness and this collective consciousness. It's that alone is what makes distant Reiki possible. And a lot of people might think like, oh well, that doesn't prove anything. But if you think about prayer in a way, like so many people pray, you know, maybe our mothers are praying for us and sometimes those prayers come true. So why would someone pray if they didn't think that what they're doing over here can affect somebody way over there? So distant Reiki is kind of similar. It's sort of like a prayer if you want to look at it that way, but it's actually all about just connecting, knowing how to kind of navigate the earth grid and find that person that you are working with. And this is something I talk about often, is about like asking people for permission to give them Reiki. It's important to ask for permission because it can still be effective if they don't give permission, but you want to respect somebody else's, views or somebody else's energy in that way. But if you can get the person's permission, it's much more powerful because then you can set a date and time. So my soul agrees with their soul that we're going to meet in this space at this date and at this time. So it makes it really easy for our energies to connect that way.
And what can be achieved through Reiki? Like, what can people at home? And I know there's not promises, and people should not see any healing method as a miracle work for anything. But
Mhm.
with that in mind, what can people, yeah, achieve through a Reiki practice or a Reiki treatment, a distant Reiki treatment?
Yeah, so much. The possibilities are limitless. So my clients will usually come to me for something specific, like, can you help me with this? My heart aches, I went through a breakup. Can you help me get over this? Or, I've been feeling some stuff in my root chakra. Can you help me figure that out? Or I have some lower back pain. Can you help me with that? So they come with me for a certain condition or a certain goal. So what I like to do is I like to find the root cause of things. And I'm not diagnosing, I'm not a doctor, so it's up to my client to explore the idea however they want to. But I try to find the root cause. So if someone comes to me with a backache, I can spend all of the time, sending Reiki to that part of the back. But what would be more beneficial is actually looking at the body as a whole and seeing why is there back pain right there, especially if there was never an injury at that specific point of the body. But maybe there's something going on in the head that is causing that
Is it
back
was?
pain. Maybe there's an emotional trauma that's stored in that part of the body, or there's something else going on. So I like to do some research with that person's soul and see what's really going on and to release that and to let it be free and to send it back to the universe and bring in more harmony so that way the body can function in more joy and more abundance and in more happiness.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
If people want to reach you, how can they reach you?
So through my website at kokureiki.com or through email, kokureiki@gmail.com. I communicate with a lot of people through my Instagram, which is Koki Reiki as well, or Facebook, really anywhere. My website is a good place to start though, kokureiki.com.
Okay, and all of this is gonna be on the show notes. And for me, you can always reach me at JoLowTalk at Instagram and Facebook. And for Am, thank you for being here. This has been it has been awesome. So much information. It has been great. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're so awesome too. I enjoyed our talk today. It was a lot of fun
Same.
and unique and different than usual.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you soon. You have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.